It was supposed to be just another family dinner, the kind where fake smiles and hidden resentments filled the air thicker than the smell of roast chicken on the table. My sister Clara leaned back in her chair like a queen waiting for applause, and with that smug grin she always wore, she declared, "Mom and Dad already promised I could live with you." The clinking of cutlery paused. My parents turned to me, expectant, as though their words were already law. I lifted my glass, took a slow sip of water, and placed it carefully on the table. My voice was calm, steady, but sharp as a blade. "That's awkward," I said. "Because I sold the house last Friday to a couple." The fork slipped from Clara's hand, clattering against the plate. The sound was louder than thunder in that silent room. My parents froze mid-breath, and Clara blinked at me like I had spoken a language she didn't understand. She waited for me to laugh, to tell her it was a joke. But my face stayed stone cold. I wasn't joking. That moment was the peak of a revenge years in the making. And it all started, as these things usually do, with trust. Trust that had been betrayed so many times I'd lost count. Growing up, Clara was the golden child. The rules bent for her. Excuses flowed endlessly. She partied, she broke curfews, she failed classes. Mom would tuck her into bed, stroking her hair, whispering, "She's just young, let her live." Meanwhile, I was the reliable one. The responsible one. The one who cleaned up the messes, who fixed the things she broke, who stayed up at night balancing bills Dad left behind after he walked out. That house wasn't just brick and wood. It was my battlefield, my fortress, my anchor. Every repair, every mortgage payment, every sleepless night. It was my proof that I could hold together what everyone else had abandoned. And maybe I thought that meant something. Maybe I thought sacrifice would earn me respect. But one night I overheard it. Clara's laughter drifting down the hall as she talked on the phone. "Don't worry. Mom and Dad said the house is basically mine. He'll never kick me out. I've got it all planned." Her words hit harder than a knife to the chest. My house, the one I bled for, reduced to a casual promise whispered behind my back. Like I was just some tenant overstaying my welcome. That night something inside me shifted. I didn't confront her. No, I smiled the next morning and played dumb. But inside, a plan was already forming. Revenge, I knew, couldn't be loud. It had to be patient, quiet, surgical. I started with the little things. When her car broke down because she skipped oil changes, I didn't fix it. When she begged me to cover her late bills again, I let the collectors call. Every time she stumbled, I let her feel the edges of reality, sharp and unforgiving, without me to cushion the fall. Meanwhile, I planned. The deed to the house had been in my name for years, signed and sealed through my effort alone. While Clara decorated her room like a permanent queen, I was already meeting with realtors. And when the buyers came, a young couple with hope in their eyes, I didn't hesitate. They offered cash. Sign. One signature, and the house that had carried our family's lies, our betrayals, our burdens, was gone. But timing, I knew, mattered most. I didn't pack immediately. I stayed. I waited for the perfect stage, the perfect silence to drop the truth like a hammer. Which is why, that night at the dinner table, I let Clara's arrogance set itself on fire. When she said those words, "Mom and Dad promised I could live with you," it was almost too perfect. I set my glass down and replied slowly, deliberately, "That's awkward. I sold the house last Friday. To a couple who move in next week." The silence that followed wasn't just silence. It was electric. My parents' eyes widened, panic flooding them. Clara's face drained of all color. Her lips parted but no words came out. For once in her life, she had no comeback. You can't do that," she finally sputtered, her voice shaking. But I already had. The paperwork was final. There was no undoing it. Mom's voice cracked, trembling. "Why didn't you tell us?" I looked straight at her, calm, unflinching. "Because it wasn't our house. It was mine. It always was. I just stopped pretending otherwise." Their mouths moved, but their voices betrayed them, weak, useless. That's the thing about truth. It doesn't need to be shouted. When whispered, it destroys louder than screams. The fallout was immediate. Clara had no backup, no plan. Her future had been built on the illusion that I would always carry her. My parents had relied on my predictability, my endless sacrifice. They were all wrong. 2 weeks later, the buyers moved in. I handed them the keys with steady hands, while behind me, my family stood on the driveway, bags half-packed, panic spilling into angry arguments. I didn't even turn back. I walked away. In my new apartment, the silence was different. Not heavy, not suffocating. It was mine. For the first time, it was freedom. Of course, the calls came. Dozens of voicemails ranging from desperate to furious. "You betrayed your family," they said. I almost laughed. Because in truth, they had betrayed me first. Here's what they never understood. I wasn't addicted to being needed. I was addicted to being respected. And when they stripped me of that, I stripped them of the very foundation they stood on. That dinner table wasn't just revenge. It was my declaration. After years of swallowing bitterness, of waiting for validation, I finally realized I didn't need their approval. I only needed my freedom. And the look on their faces, as the ground beneath them crumbled into nothing. That was the sweetest freedom of all. They thought the house would chain me to them forever. Instead, it became the blade I used to cut myself free. And for once in my life, I had no regrets.